Martin.
Kia ora, Mr. Speaker. And with all respect to the member who just resumed his seat, the majority of that speech was rubbish. It is very interesting to hear the minister, when he started this speech, having to actually compare this deal to treaty settlements and the Rugby World Cup. The minister had to compare this deal to treaty settlements in a way to actually justify it to New Zealand, and I think that shows how low down in the barrel the minister and the government have had to reach to try and justify this deal to the people of New Zealand. This is nothing like a treaty settlement. This is nothing like the Rugby World Cup, of which there was not a single beneficiary. The whole country benefited. For the member who just resumed his seat to suggest that the whole country will benefit from a convention centre inside Auckland is nonsense. These buildings are built, the company run them specifically to keep the customers they bring into them to stay inside their buildings. That's why they build restaurants in them. That's why they build shops in them. They will pick up the Southern Airlines customers from the airport in their cars. They will transport them to their convention centre. They will keep them within their walls as much as they can. Auckland will see no improvement apart from the fact that Sky City might have to pay a few more dollars out to charities to counteract the harm that they are doing. So I'm sorry, sir, but your speech was rubbish. Now, to get back to the point where I actually wanted to start. Now, we keep hearing, and we've just heard it again, that New Zealanders will reap the benefit of this convention centre, of a convention centre. New Zealanders won't own it. New Zealanders won't own it. It's a private building, and again, I just take up the point by the Green member, where she mentioned that John Key had swapped 250 pokey machines and this many for a building. We don't get the building. If we were actually going to get the building, New Zealanders might say that they gained something. We didn't. We've given away legislation for a private company to improve its own profit line. And that's exactly what private companies do. Have no beef against Sky City. Of course, if you can get a deal like this, you'd get it. The fact is, you shouldn't be able to get a deal like this on the New Zealand people. And this is not about a convention centre. This is about pokey machines. Now, the very fact that Len Brown and the rest of the councillors and local board members in Auckland put forward and approved a motion to have a sinking lid on pokey machines in the very city where this company may, because of that sinking lid, end up with a monopoly, concerns me. And I would like to know from Len Brown what changed his mind in between when he voted for a sinking lid across Auckland because he saw the harm of pokey machines on the rest of the communities, why he now supports this convention centre idea and this government. What happened? And let's hope it wasn't some discussion about a tunnel under a harbour or some discussion about some electronic trains out to the airport or any other discussions like that that made Len Brown change his philosophy around this particular deal. Now, the government and its proponents of this deal like to point to data that suggests that more gamblers on pokey machines become problem gamblers in small local pubs and RSAs than in the large responsible organisations such as Sky City. And this is a really interesting manipulation of the data. And I want to point out, it's a joint statement by Chris Tremaine and Peter Dunn. It was put out in May of this year, and the title of it is Government Sets $55.3 Million Problem Gambling Strategy. The problem gambling levy is expected to recover $33.35 million from non-casino gambling machines, $11.34 million from casinos, $5.38 million from the Racing Board and $3.95 million from the New Zealand Lotteries Commission. The levy remains about the same because there has not been any significant change to problem gambling data. We're hearing that apparently there has been a change to problem gambling data because the government keeps patting itself on the back about apparently lowering it, but the levies need to stay the same because there's been no significant change. The number of machines has decreased, rightio, expenditure overall is down, and the most recent New Zealand Health Survey appeared to indicate a slight decline in prevalence. This is from the ministers. The amount that each sector is required to pay depends on that sector's share of the total player expenditure across the 4 sectors and that sector's share of the help seeking associated with gambling in those sectors. This means that non-casino gambling machine operators will continue to pay the far highest share of the levy. Harm is associated with non-casino gambling machines more often than with any other form of gambling. By this point, you might be saying, why is Tracy Martin standing up fighting against the small RSAs and the pubs and their gambling machines? It's because that's a really interesting twist on how this data was created. The numbers of problem gamblers in the country is predominantly created by those who seek help, those who are identified and then actually go and seek help from such an organisation. They are more readily identified inside the communities that know them. They are more readily identified inside the local RSAs. They are more readily identified inside the pubs. The publicans and the RSAs walk up to those clients that they know and say, mate, you've got a problem. How can we help you out? So to actually penalise the RSAs and the pubs through situations like the levy, where they pay 1.31 cents in every dollar, whereas the casino only pays 0.74 cents in every dollar, because one could say because the casinos don't identify the problem gamblers. I love the fact that the Minister and also other members have said that the casino will be doubling, as part of the deal, they're going to be doubling their, what are they called? They're called something or other, responsible person, extra staff, that's right. So as part of the Pokies for Convention deal, Sky City only needs to employ 3 extra staff to help identify problem gambling. Yep. In response to questions from One News, Sky City has confirmed it currently has 3 host responsibility executives, and that number will double to 6. Minister for Economic Development Stephen Joyce said his understanding was that there would be 24/7 coverage. Figure out how many hours those people are working, figure out the floor space of that casino, and then those people ought to be earning their wage. This coverage is a requirement in the legally binding agreement unveiled by Joyce and Sky City last month. This is from June. One News asked Sky City exactly how it would provide 24/7 coverage with just 6 people. However, Sky City has refused to answer. That's probably because they don't know how they're going to do it. This is a spin again. This is a spin. This is a deal done. Let's talk about the fact that in the beginning of this bill it says the overarching purpose of this agreement is to provide economic benefits to New Zealanders by improving New Zealand's capacity to host I just went to the government's careers website to have a look at how much the people who'd be employed inside this casino might be being paid. Right now, if you get a job inside a casino inside New Zealand, you get paid $15 an hour. This is not really not exactly the high-wage economy that John Key and this government sold the community on, the electorate on, when they went to the last election. If you want the other jobs that are going to be inside this convention centre are housekeepers and kitchen hands, possibly waiters and waitresses, dishwashers. They all get paid less per hour currently on the Careers New Zealand website. That's hardly what I want to go back and talk to the young people in my community about, for them to aspire to be dishwashers in a casino. And everybody has a community. That's the problem, sir. You obviously don't belong to a community, that you don't understand that point. So to say that this is about economic growth, it's economic growth in the wrong direction, sir. There is nothing in this bill for the people of New Zealand. They've sold our legislation yet again. New Zealand First will be opposing this bill.
I call Mark Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, I just want to